When a young schoolgirl steps in to help a millionaire fix his prized Mustang, no one expects the shocking twist that will change both their lives forever. All because of a single ring on her finger. It was a warm Saturday afternoon, and the sun hung low in the sky, casting a golden glow over the suburban neighborhood. The scent of freshly cut grass and the distant sound of children's laughter filled the air, lending an almost idyllic atmosphere to the otherwise quiet street. Amidst this tranquility, a sleek black Mustang, with its polished chrome gleaming in the sunlight, was parked outside a small corner store, its owner standing by the engine, looking utterly frustrated. David Wright, a man in his late 30s, dressed in a designer suit that spoke of wealth and status, was trying and failing to fix the hood of the car. The Mustang had inexplicably broken down in the middle of his drive. It wasn't a common occurrence. In fact, it was rather embarrassing for a man who prided himself on always being in control of every aspect of his life. The car, his prized possession, was supposed to be a symbol of his success, yet here it was, refusing to cooperate. He stared at the engine with growing confusion and irritation, unsure of what had gone wrong. The engine sputtered and coughed, but nothing seemed to work. He tried restarting the car several times, but to no avail. He was helpless. There was a moment of stark clarity. He had no idea what was wrong with it, and worse, he didn't know how to fix it. It was a feeling he wasn't used to. David had always been the one with answers, the one who controlled situations, but here on the side of the road, all that power seemed meaningless. As he paced back and forth, cursing under his breath, he heard a voice break through his thoughts. "Need a hand." It was soft and polite, yet firm with an underlying confidence. He turned to see a young girl, no older than 16, approaching him with a calm, assured step. She was wearing the standard school uniform, a plaid skirt, and a white shirt, her brown hair tied back neatly. Her name was Jasmine, and she was a student at the local high school, known not just for her intelligence, but for her impressive mechanical skills she had inherited from her father, a man who had taught her about cars since she could remember. She was walking home from school when she noticed David's struggle and, driven by curiosity and a natural inclination to help, approached without a second thought. "I could give it a look if you want," she said with a small but genuine smile. David looked at her, mildly surprised. She seemed so young, so out of place in this situation. His first instinct was to decline. After all, what could a teenage girl possibly know about fixing cars? But he was stuck, and the rising frustration inside him pushed him to take her offer. "I could use some help," he said, his voice tinged with a hint of desperation. "I have no idea what's wrong with it." Jasmine smiled, the sort of smile that suggested she already knew she could fix it. She stepped closer, pulling a pair of gloves from her backpack and swiftly opening the hood of the Mustang. David watched, both puzzled and impressed, as she scanned the engine with the precision of someone who had done this many times before. She moved with confidence, her fingers working quickly and methodically, as if she had an intimate understanding of every part under the hood. It only took a few moments, and then she paused, her eyes narrowing as she identified the problem. "Fuse blew," she said simply, almost as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. David blinked, momentarily taken aback by how quickly she had figured it out. "A fuse?" he asked, almost incredulously. Jasmine nodded, pulling out a spare fuse from her backpack and replacing the blown one with swift precision. "All done," she said, snapping the hood shut with a satisfying click. The car purred to life, the engine roaring back to its former glory, and for the first time that day, David felt a wave of relief wash over him. He stared at her in stunned silence. He couldn't believe it. A teenager had just fixed his expensive car like it was second nature. He had barely understood what she had done, but here it was, the problem solved. Jasmine stepped back, dusting off her hands and offering him a modest smile. "There you go," she said. "No charge." David, still in awe, laughed, a sound that carried both relief and genuine admiration. "You're a lifesaver," he said, his tone tinged with respect. "I don't know what I would have done without you." Jasmine just shrugged, her smile growing wider. "I've had a lot of practice." Her humility struck David even more. Here she was, a young girl with a talent far beyond her years, yet she wasn't looking for recognition or praise. It was as if she simply enjoyed the process, the satisfaction of a job well done. David extended his hand, a gesture that felt both natural and necessary. David Wright, he introduced himself, his voice warm and sincere. Jasmine shook his hand firmly, her grip confident despite her youth. Jasmine, she replied simply, her tone just as steady as her handshake. For a moment, the conversation shifted to pleasantries, the kind that usually accompanied casual encounters between strangers. But something about this one felt different. There was a strange ease between them, an unspoken connection, and it wasn't just because she had fixed his car. Jasmine felt comfortable around David, more so than with most adults she knew. Perhaps it was because of his calm demeanor or the way he genuinely seemed appreciative of her help. But there was something more, something about him that intrigued her, though she couldn't put her finger on it. David, too, felt a stirring in his chest, a mixture of admiration and curiosity. His mind was racing with thoughts of how this young girl could possibly possess such knowledge and poise. But what struck him most was how different she was from the people in his usual circle. She was intelligent, grounded, and undeniably capable. As they stood there talking, Jasmine absent-mindedly brushed her hand over her neck, and that's when David noticed it. There, resting on her finger, was a ring, a simple but elegant gold band with a small diamond at its center. The ring caught the light in a way that made it almost shimmer. Something about it felt out of place. David's curiosity grew, and without thinking, he asked, "That's a beautiful ring. Is it a family heirloom?" Jasmine hesitated for a brief moment, and then, as if deciding whether or not to share, she answered. "It's from my grandmother," she said quietly. "She gave it to me when I turned 16. It means a lot to me." David's eyes narrowed slightly as he took in her words. The ring was striking, yes, but it was more than that. The design of the ring, the intricate details, the small diamond, it all reminded him of something familiar. And then the realization hit him like a lightning bolt. "Wait," he muttered under his breath. His eyes flicked between the ring and Jasmine, narrowing in disbelief. His heart began to race as the pieces clicked together. The design, he had seen it before. It was the family crest of the Harrison family, one of the most influential and wealthy families in the city. Lorraine Harrison, the matriarch of the family, had made her mark in the business world decades ago, building an empire that stretched far and wide. If Jasmine was indeed her granddaughter, it meant she came from a line of tremendous power, wealth, and influence. The implications were overwhelming. David's mouth went dry as he looked at Jasmine. You're the granddaughter of Lorraine Harrison, aren't you?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Jasmine's face shifted instantly. The warmth in her eyes faded, replaced by a guarded, almost defensive expression. "Yes, I am," she said slowly, her voice now more serious. "Why?" David's heart pounded as he processed the information. Jasmine wasn't just some random schoolgirl. She was tied to one of the most powerful families in the city. It suddenly dawned on him that this encounter was far from coincidental. Jasmine, sensing the change in his demeanor, stood a little straighter, her gaze becoming more cautious. "Look," she said, her voice firm, "I didn't ask you for anything. I didn't fix your car because of who I'm related to. I just wanted to help." David felt a wave of guilt wash over him, and he quickly raised his hands in apology. "I didn't mean to imply anything," he said hastily. I didn't expect someone like you to be out here, helping me with something like this." Jasmine's eyes softened slightly, but she didn't let her guard down entirely. "Everyone has their own skills," she said. "I'm not just a girl with a famous grandmother." David nodded, his respect for her growing even more. "No, you're not. You're someone who knows exactly what they're doing." He paused for a moment, as if considering his next words carefully. "You're someone I'd like to get to know better." Jasmine's eyes narrowed as she regarded him, clearly cautious. "Why is that?" she asked. David hesitated for a moment before answering. "I think we could help each other. There's more going on here than you might realize." The words hung in the air between them. Jasmine studied his face for a long moment before finally nodding slowly. Maybe, she said, her voice quiet but thoughtful. But you'll have to prove it to me. With that, the foundations for an unlikely partnership were set into motion. Neither of them knew what the future would hold. But as Jasmine walked away, David knew one thing for certain. This wasn't just any ordinary schoolgirl, and the ring on her finger was just the beginning of a far deeper and more intricate story. Subscribe to expect stories for more unexpected twists and captivating journeys.